A.E. White, a 20th century British scholarly mystic who was the first to attempt a scholarly study of Western occultism, found that, quote, "The earliest extant work of alchemy, which is as yet known in the West, is the Papyrus of Lede, which was discovered at Thebes. The practices exposed in this papyrus are the same as those of the oldest Greek alchemists, such as Pseudo-Democritus, Zosimus, Olympiodorus, and Pseudo-Moses. This demonstration is of the highest importance for the study of the origins of alchemy. It proves it to have been found on something more than purely chimerical fancies. It is impossible to separate the Lede papyrus from a close relationship with its context of other papyri, as admitted by Berthelot, who said, "The history of magic and Gnosticism is closely bound up with that of the origin of alchemy, and the alchemical papyrus of Lede connects in every respect with two in the same series which are solely magical and Gnostic."
Many ancient cultures, all around the world actually, talk about gaining knowledge from elsewhere. You know, ancient aliens, they're always talking about ancient aliens. Well, it's true. I mean, that part of it is anyway, that, the people around the world claimed that they had received knowledge and understanding of how to build megalithic structures and things of that nature from elsewhere. Now, I don't believe that we're talking about astronauts, ancient astronaut theory. I don't buy that. We're not talking about people from the Pleiades or Arcturus or Orion or whatever. I believe we're talking about the archons. What are the archons? Well, first of all, it's just a Greek word. It's nothing mystical about it. The word archon just simply means chief, commander with authority, ruler. It's talking about a person in position of leadership. In the book of Enoch, we see that 200 Watcher-class angels landed on Mount Hermon in the days of Jared. And among those 200, we are given a series of names, about 21 names. These would be the archons of the 200. These would be the leaders of the 200. And, the book of Enoch tells you, point blank, that these angels taught men a whole lot of things, like Azazel or Azazel taught men the art of digging up the metals of the earth and, creating weapons of warfare, among other things. So we've got a detailed description right there in the Hebrew, extra biblical text of Enoch, but other cultures describe very similar things, that beings from elsewhere came down and taught them stuff.
But as we look at this following quote through the context of alchemy, we will see that it was a vital part of the teachings. The book of Enoch, chapter 8, verse 1 states, quote, "Azazel taught men to make swords, knives, shields, breastplates, and fabrication of mirrors, and the workmanship of bracelets and ornaments, the use of paint, the beautifying of the eyebrows, the use of stones of every valuable and select kind, and of all sorts of dyes, so that the world became altered." If Hermes, by way of Thoth, is considered the god of knowledge and wisdom by the Egyptians and Hellenistic Greeks, then Azazel, the Watcher, would be the equivalent in the book of Enoch. It is interesting to note that Azazel is mentioned 3 times in the Bible, all in the book of Leviticus. The word Azazel means scapegoat, or more specifically, entire removal. Later, in the book of Enoch, chapter 9, verse 6, it states, quote, "See then what Azazel has done, how he has taught all iniquity on the earth and revealed the eternal secrets that are made in heaven." Then later, in chapter 13, verse 1 and 2, Enoch delivers a message of the fate of the watchers as appointed by God. Quote, "You will not have peace. A severe sentence has come out against you, that you should be bound, and you will have neither rest nor mercy, nor the granting of any petitions, because of the wrong which you have taught, and because of all the works of blasphemy and wrong and sin which you have shown to the sons of men." This reminds us of a passage we read in 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 4. The possible connection between Azazel and Thoth is further realized when we consider the channeled writings of Dr. Doriel, a man who allegedly had connections to the Great White Lodge. He published the Emerald Tablets of Thoth the Atlantean in 1925. In these particular channeled writings, there is a passage that states, quote, "Know ye, O people amongst whom I walk, that I, Thoth, have all of the knowledge and all of the wisdom known to man since the ancient days. Keeper I have been of the secrets of the great race. holder of the key that leads into fire. Bringer up have I been to ye, O my children, even from the darkness of the Ancient of Days. Here, Thoth, through Dr. Doriel, claims himself to be the father of mankind, calling us my children. He contrasts himself from the darkness of the Ancient of Days, a title for God in the book of Daniel. These clues are a dead giveaway of who is actually behind the identity of Thoth, or Azazel. However, the channelings don't end there. Dr. John Dee, who was a 16th century occultist, practiced alchemy and the sacred arts. He believed that the promise of immortality lied in the secrets held by the one the Bible says walked with God for 300 years and did not see death, for God took him. While the Bible emphasizes Enoch's unique faith in God, Dr. John Dee felt that it was Enoch's works that allowed him to walk with God and not see death. It would be a mistake to believe that Enoch's privileges were a result of any kind of magical workings or alchemical spells. So what drove Dr. John Dee to pursue such a lofty goal in the first place? Jeffrey James, an author and journalist who's written for Wired.com, the New York Times, among other mainstream media outlets, published a book called The Enochian Evocation back in 1984. This book was a modern translation of angelic communication originally transcribed by Dr. John Dee and his partner Edward Kelly as they gazed into crystal balls in 1582. These so-called angels told Dee that they must re-establish the magical sciences which had been lost due to man's wickedness. They also told Dee that the one who successfully harnesses these magical arts will bestow superhuman powers, change the political landscape, and bring about the apocalypse. Moreover, these so-called angels taught John Dee and Edward Kelly the language of the angels. In the 2009 Weiser edition of the Enochian Evocation of Dr. John Dee, author Jeffrey James wrote in his preface, quote, "I expected my book to be well received by the scholarly community. Instead, most of the interest in the Enochian evocation has come, as far as I can tell, from practicing occultists. Academics have, by contrast, virtually ignored it. The primary reason for the evident distaste among the ivy-colored professors is probably my assertion in the original introduction that the angelic, aka Enochian language, has characteristics suggesting that it has non-human origins. A completely new language that's non-human in origin. Yes, that's the kind of controversial statement that simply won't be tolerated among academics. I might as well clarify that statement, not for their benefit, but simply for the historical record. While I believe that it's probably that the angelic language was devised by somebody, most likely Kelly, either consciously or subconsciously, non-human characteristics do exist in the language and, as such, provide the best proof that we're ever likely to see of the existence of non-corporeal intelligence. Even if such beings are unlikely, the angelic language is still the only example of glossolalia, speaking in tongues, that involves a hitherto unknown language with its own grammar and syntax. In other words, this book is important because it's the only publication, scholarly or otherwise, that fairly assesses the unique and possibly significant phenomenon of the angelic language and how it was dictated. Like all channeled material, it seemed that what Dr. John Dee and Edward Kelly communicated with were fallen spirits, masquerading as angels of light in desperate pursuit of the agenda to manifest their leader.
A palavra gnóstico significa sabedoria ou conhecimento e é derivada do grego gnosis. Os membros da ordem afirmavam estarem familiarizados com as doutrinas secretas do cristianismo primitivo. Eles interpretavam os mistérios cristãos de acordo com o simbolismo pagão. As informações secretas e os dogmas filosóficos deles eram escondidos dos profanos e ensinados a um pequeno grupo de pessoas especialmente iniciadas.
Aqui, o autor maçom Henri Pirral acaba de dizer que o gnosticismo escondia dos profanos e ensinava para um pequeno grupo de pessoas especialmente iniciadas. Esse fato torna o gnosticismo uma sociedade secreta, antes mesmo que você chegue às suas doutrinas blasfemas. Observe também que os gnósticos afirmavam conhecer doutrinas secretas do cristianismo, isto é, uma religião de mistérios. Ou, dizendo aos poucos eleitos, estas são doutrinas ocultas das massas, que Deus sabia que não poderia revelar ao povo comum. Assim, o ocultismo tem doutrinas secretas e evangelhos gnósticos, como vimos na parte anterior, todos dados de modo a contornar os verdadeiros ensinos das Escrituras.
Os gnósticos estavam divididos em suas opiniões com relação ao demiurgo, o criador dos mundos inferiores. Um grupo de gnósticos era da opinião que o demiurgo era a causa de toda a miséria e uma criatura má. Alguns gnósticos eram da opinião que o Deus judaico, Jeová, era o demiurgo. Esse conceito, sob um nome ligeiramente diferente, aparentemente influenciou a sociedade Rosa Cruz medieval, que via Jeová como o Senhor do universo material em vez de como a deidade suprema.
Você pode imaginar a blasfêmia inerente nessa doutrina? Primeiramente, o nome do Eterno, bendito seja, não é este. O nome dele está contido no tetragrama sagrado. Um nome santo, sagrado, que não pode ser falado em vão e muito menos ser profanado. E outra que nome próprio não se traduz, e a letra J não existe em hebraico. Viu como é? Grave? Pensam que sabem o nome do Criador e falam isso dele. Por este motivo, apenas os judeus e outras pessoas muito poucas sabem o verdadeiro nome do Eterno, para que absurdos como esse não aconteçam. Mas isto nada tem a ver com sociedades secretas e ocultismo, pois em Deuteronômio 29, no final do capítulo, está escrito que as coisas ocultas pertencem ao Eterno, e as reveladas aos judeus e a seus filhos para sempre, para que sejam cumpridas todas as palavras da Torá. O Eterno em nada tem a ver com essa doutrina abominável, em que um suposto Deus chamado de Demiurgo, Tesselão em grego, era filho dos éons, que no conceito gnóstico são emanações de Deus. Deus agora no mundo espiritual gera filhos, e tem seres superiores a ele, porque segundo eles Deus, o nosso Deus, é filho não do Deus que eles creem, mas ainda mais absurdamente é filho de uma emanação dele. É para rir dessa piada. E também dizem que o tal demiurgo só cria matéria e não há razão. A Bíblia basicamente define Deus como o criador de todos os seres vivos e inanimados. Não há absolutamente nada no universo, quer seja espiritual ou material, que não se tenha originado de Deus. O verso de abertura da Torá nos relata: no princípio criou Deus os céus e a terra, Gênesis 1:1. Também diz no Taná: assim disse o Deus eterno, que cria os céus e os expande, que dá existência à terra e ao seu produto, que proveu a alma de todos que nela habitam, e o espírito dos que percorrem seus caminhos. Isaías 42:5. Adiante, afirma: eu sou o eterno, que faço todas as coisas. Isaías 44:24. Claramente, por ter criado todo o universo, Deus criou todas as matérias físicas, e também espirituais. Além de blasfêmias gravíssimas, se vê o conceito de idolatria e politeísmo permeado na gnose. Mas ainda não acabou, vai piorar. Prossigamos.
Let me say very clearly, there is no globalism without the spiritual presence behind it. There is no synchronizing and crystallizing the political, the economic, the military, the environmental, the sciences and technologies without that spiritual presence behind. So if we do not look at the entities behind, yes, they are non-human entities, intelligences, as the Nazis called them. They are alien in the sense that they're not of our physical world, but they're not extraterrestrial. They are extra-dimensional. These are beings that have been around for millennia. They are fallen ones, fallen angels. You can say demons, daemonoia, Satanas, Diablos, ancient serpent, and by the Spirit of God, there's designations given to those entities. Now, those entities, as we've said again and again and again, the Scriptures bear out the Greek word metaskidzmazatai, the ability to morph, and the ability to present a front that is acceptable without changing its nature or agenda. Now, that's part of the global deception. That's part of the end-time deception issue. And as Scripture, the Spirit of God has shown us, the broadest, deepest, most controlled, but yet most supernatural deception will be occurring in the last days, a ramping up an evolutionary development to the point of bulging at the seams. The same beings that Himmler was after, the same beings that guided Helena Blavatsky and Alice Bailey in the writings, the same beings that would predict their goal of the transformation, evolution, and alteration of humanity, and bringing about a new era and a world super leader, as defined in the externalization of the hierarchy, is reappearing in what looks like an extraordinary, dazzling, incredible combination of science and spirituality.